Yeah, all right. So you've been vaping while airsofting. What would the crotch of that Venn diagram be? A few years, quite a while.
Oh
I know
God,
it's been around a while now, hasn't it? I know, like it
I
wasn't
didn't
even
really
that
jump
weird
on the
between
bandwagon. I guess probably to like
12 years ago.
three or 4 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I was still smoking on and off up until that point in time. But then, when I realized that there was actually like groups of people that were getting together strictly for the vaping purposes while at Airsoft, and that kind of changed like how I looked at things a little bit. It was actually like not like, I don't say gangs or teams, but like there was groups of guys that would just be there to vape.
Pretty much. Cool. So I guess we can dive right in here. What can you tell us a little bit about the different types of and so yeah, Mike, can you tell us a little bit about the types of vapes on offer and what they might bring to a given loadout or when you might want to use each? What you like, what you don't?
Yeah, I think it depends strictly on what your expectations of the vape's going to be. Like I said, I use disposables. Always found like those little guys like this. These little hides. I found that the hide style, because it has a variety of flavors. They last for for me at least. I don't use them all one at a time. I'll have 2 or 3 in my pocket, so I can actually choose like what flavor I want to actually enjoy while going through the woods. And it depends on where you are too, because like if you're in the town or something, sometimes you'll want to have like a different flavor to kind of enhance the experience, if you will. But it really just depends. I mean, some guys, they run straight mods where they have these big batteries and these high capacity, tanks for blowing giant clouds throughout they don't need smoke bombs. They show up with their vape.
Now you say a mod. Those are I think a lot of them are all different shapes, but those are the ones that are like vaguely top of a Mark 23 shape sort of deal.
Yeah. They look like giant. Yeah, they look like giant. I don't even know what they look like. Giant pill bottles.
I guess what I was really meaning to get at is the ones you have some more elegant ones, like my aunt, who's one of the 5 other people on the Eastern Seaboard who use vaping to scale back or quit smoking. Hers looks vaguely like a high end Sharpie or something. I don't know if that's technically
yeah.
It's not disposable.
Yeah, I mean they have different styles. Like this is a box one. It's straight up it's a big huge canister. I have thin ones that are like a slim line and slide inside small tack pouches easy. I've got ones that you'd probably need to throw in the dump pouch because the battery pack is so big.
Right.
But I don't like using those because you have the glass factor, and then if you ever broke them, first off they make a god awful mess. They break or they leak. But more so, if they do break, anything that is in is ruined. And then you run the risk with the battery packs and everything else. The disposables, you just huck them until you're done and then throw them out. Right. Or recycle them like a responsible adult does. I
guess it's in the name mod, but I guess what I'm confirming is that mods come in really all different sizes. They're not necessarily just those fucking massive.
Oh no, they make slimline ones that are like like they look like
even kind of modular
pens. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They have ones that look like really expensive pens. They've got ones that are like big bricks. I don't have any mods left. I had a mechanical one I used to use years ago, but I haven't. I've been using the disposables for so long now. I didn't keep any of that shit.
Okay.
But they took like the 186 3000 batteries or something like that they use.
Oh, 18650 like Streamlight.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like a high powered flashlight battery,
it's a good time when something you're smoking also can be used in something to light up a square acre front yard instantly, right?
Right. Or jumpstart your car. Obviously, jumpstarting your lungs with the sweet flavors, the nectars of the gods, isn't enough. You can also use this to start a car. God forbid. But I mean, I suppose it just depends on what you're wanting to get out of your combination of your rig with the vape and with your airsoft experience. Again, like I said, the big mods, man, you get 3 or 4 dudes like that in a building, you can smoke it right out.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Good cover. I'm just saying it's a possibility, not probability. It's a possibility.
Never mind a building. There were some predicaments in Tarp Town, which is all literally, for full context of those who never came out to Redbrook, a bunch of tarps between a couple dozen trees in a vague signs-esque crop circle of Shantytown. And they fumigated that pretty good too. I don't even think they needed to call an exterminator that year for the ground bees.
No. Yeah, thankfully that year I didn't walk through the ground bee nest.
I was telling somebody about that a while ago. Talk about a predicament, huh?
Well, Me running full pell-mell towards poor John, who's looking at me like, why is this dude running? And I'm like, bees, John, bees run. He's like, what? Bees! At that point in time, I was next to him, and, well, he didn't have a chance.
Right.
Me swarmed with bees running towards him at top speed probably, scared him to death. Then again, me running towards anybody at top speed is probably pretty scary.
Right, yeah. I mean, you have the bee factor. And
yeah, I mean, if you see me running, pretty much everything else has gone bad.
If only there was some kind of vape that wouldn't, kill you in 15 minutes, but also was like the same effectiveness, or you could use kind of like Raid, or like a bee repellent.
Like what I really thought they should do is
don't need to kill them.
Make vapes that actually give you like either like a wood smell or like a pine smell, or maybe a burning building smell, or burnt car smell, or cordite. Could you imagine a vape that smelled like cordite? I'm just saying, there's a market for this somewhere. Someone needs to listen to this and run with it. It's probably a horrible idea, but at the same time, I think it would sell. I don't know if it would be really I don't know what the flavor would be. Whoops, hang on. There we go. Sorry, kick myself off the internet. But like if you had like an actual thing that had that kind of like for like if you're running around, especially with an airsoft or a paintball or even. Yeah, I hate to put two of them in the same thing because everybody's kind of weird about it. But
there's going to be a knife fight now.
Oh yeah, somewhere in a parking lot at like midnight.
A virtual COVID knife fight.
Yeah, probably a BBG. And but in any case, see there, someone's listening to me cordite. I'm just saying, if you went through and you made a vape that had that smell, would people not go through and buy that? I mean, I just.
I believe you. I mean, I just don't know to what end. Like, is it funny to smell like this in certain places? Like, I could kind of get behind, walking into Walmart smelling like a car wreck just for the sake of making whoever's in the next aisle wonder, like,
what the hell that dude do?
What fresh hell is this? I mean, we've smelled this 5 times in the last 2 weeks at Walmart, but I mean, it doesn't. I still have to ask. It still begs the question.
Well, I mean, I think that part of it too is you got to look at it from the aspect of like. All right, so let's say, for example, you really like campfire smell. Get a vape with a campfire, and it wouldn't give you the smell because
campfire smell isn't a burning car wreck smell.
Well, I'm just saying in general, like like how cool it'd be in the middle of winter when you can't get a campfire because you're not gonna be able to go out and sit in front of a wood stove, but you want to have that reminiscence, that trigger memory. You make a vape that has the taste, so you taste the campfire. Now, I know vapes don't necessarily have a smell, but you could have the taste, and my God, that would be so cool. So, I mean, you could literally, how about napalm? The taste of napalm, the taste of that burning gel as it sticks to human flesh as a vape.
Wow. That would get me into it. That would get me into fucking vaping. I would smoke my last cards and,
Yeah. Yeah, this is way harder than I thought it'd be.
No, we trailed off a second. I didn't mean to ask you. So what was ultimately your go-to vape for just a typical, sort of the kind of operation that we run, whether it's, not necessarily like an indoor.
It would depend.
So I guess we'd have to be, we need capacity, but we also don't need something that's going to shatter in our dump, our Armani dump pouch if it's compromised, right?
Right. So
are there other factors as well, possibly? Or I know we kind of touched on that.
It depends on what your role is, right? Like, so I did a lot of admin work. Flaming hot Mountain Dew. That would be awesome. That would be. Just saying, I'd love to hear.
I'm surprised. Yeah, it's great.
So in a case, no, it depends on what you're doing on the field. Like, so like, again, we're gonna go back to some visuals. It was a real limited edition kit.
Captain Retro here is a renowned, is our Mountain Dew historian. We keep on retainer. We don't know. There's only this is the first time in the run of.
We don't pay him, but he knows all kinds of stuff about Mountain Dew. It's impressive,
and he's eager to share. Yeah,
of course. That's half the battle.
Yeah.
So these ones are actually metal. Like the shell in this is metal, and I had this crazy idea of getting a whole bunch of these and making like an armored plating out of it, like a juggernaut suit, right? So we could do juggernaut suit, and these have like a nice, like kind of a brushed nickel look to them. I was like, man, that'd be kind of cool if you do a juggernaut suit out of vape. Or the other options we have are like these little regular plastic ones. Instead of having to bring a kill light, you can just grab one of these dudes out and just wave it around because it's nice and bright. Everybody can see it. Right?
Good.
So I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to find better uses for the vapes that I have to make the airsoft experience better.
Right. Which is really
so, I mean, if you're running around the woods and you're just going to be shooting each other, whatever, you're not really having a serious day, you can go with one of these like lightly green ones that'll also blend into your camo. I mean, you got to be careful if you're running green though, because then if you have like green tack gear and you put this in your pouch, you're not going to find it again. You'll be digging through your pouch and you'll probably get shot because you're not paying attention to everything else. So you got to be really careful about what choices you're going to make prior to going out in the field based on what you want to get out of your day. That's why you bring the vapes that you bring, based on that. A lot of it too, comes down to is like, if I'm going to spend the whole day in town with my multicam bottoms on, like what flavor do I want to have wafting through the air as I'm enjoying my day?
Right. It's in many ways getting my mileage out of this analog on-off switch.
Yeah, no, we're doing good.
But I guess in many ways it's like picking which of your 600 guns to bring.
Well, yeah.
Obviously, when you have those 600 guns, turbo fans aren't in the budget. You'd rather have your $20 Pyramexes and fog up for 7 out of an 8-hour ROP. Isn't that right? 95% of every Airsoft Facebook group. But yeah. So one thing that I thought of earlier with the whole kill rag, you're using one basically as a kill rag. You could have like 2 vapes minimum. Doesn't matter what the first one is because that's just your general. As long as it's not straight red. One would be like a straight. They make a straight red hide. What, probably like a watermelon or strawberry?
Well, they make a different.
I know they're. Well, I just said the colors of the receiver of the vape. They're usually.
The shell.
I wonder if they have one that's entirely red because that could be your kill rag. So right. You set that aside.
Dude, they make ones like that light up.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Oh yeah. So like these are pods, right? Now this whole clear shell up here actually lights up. Now this one unfortunately is dead, so I can't show you. But it does, the whole thing lights up like a different color. And there's a button on the bottom you can press, and it changes the color scheme. Some of these things are programmable. Well, no, they're not like smart tech. They're like dumb tech. Okay. But if you hit the button once, it changes it to one color when you hit it. And if you hit the button twice, it does a different color. So they can do greens and reds and blues, and they're all LED lights, right? Mm-hmm. So not only can you make one of these stupid things into your kill rag, but if you ever get lost, you can use it as an emergency signal as well.
Right. That you can also smoke.
Put it up in a tree, leave it blinking, because it will just blink. And then hopefully somebody can find you.
And we were talking about some different business proposals earlier. I had one. What if the next iteration of the infamously good one Tigris lower face mesh was one with like a 3/4 inch hole right here? So
now that's the trick. Because some of them are round, some of them are square, and some of them have like an oval shape. So you got to make sure it's an adjustable hole. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I just thought a 3/4 diameter circle might be big enough for everything. Yeah, maybe we'll have to make it like an inch and a quarter. I mean,
again, I can get measurements off the ones I've got, but it's tricky too because like if you're not doing like the disposables like I do, and you have like a glass mod one, especially if you have like a glass mod one with a face shield, like what John's talking about. I mean, I'm sure that some companies got to make like the battery box and then the face shield that you just kind of put over your face that we got wrap around.
Yeah.
And maybe instead of having like one port to suck on, the whole thing could just blow, vape into your face. Like a cloud mask,
fan control. Yeah. Or like like those respirators with the powered filtration system. We could put
like the firefighters use. Instead of like cleaning the air, it just blows vape in your face.
Yeah, we could put like a computer fan in hear me out, like a low end PQ box from the consignment counter. And you could JB cut a hole in a dye mask with your Dremel and JB weld it in.
Well, it'd be like, what were those the fan things everyone was jamming out with the battery packs? They used to put them in their helmets so it blew the air in the things.
I can't believe it's not turbo fans. I don't know.
Yeah, the turbo fan knockoffs, right?
Like,
same idea, but just strictly to vape into your face.
Yeah, you could even recycle those fans.
I've got an old gas mask. I wonder if I could do that.
Yeah, Mike, I know one topic we did have on the list was pairings, essentially. One of them was particular juices with particular flavors, juices pretty much used interchangeably, right? With particular seasons of the airsofting campaign. Campaign season.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing to ask about. I mean, a lot of times, people who don't vape don't always consider, the actual effect of the colors, the flavors, the stylings of the actual vape unit. and how it affects you as a player. You know, like, you know, we joke about like, you know, adding speed buffs and stuff like that, but I mean, realistically, like, you know, if you can distract somebody by using your vape, I mean, you know, if you can blow a billowing cloud of cotton candy and, you know, these guys are like, oh my God, there must be free cotton candy in the field. And they walk out, you can lay a perfect ambush, you know?
Damn, I hadn't thought about it that way. I've only played
Right,
for
right.
14 years.
So, you know, you got to kind of look at the bigger picture with the vapes, right? So it's not so much you're just, you know, you're there supplying yourself with nicotine, but you can also supply other people with nicotine without them even realizing it. It throws their aim off. So they go, you know, when you get over nicotine, you get kind of jittery. It's like having too much caffeine, I guess. And, you know, if you blow enough clouds out of the enemy team over time, right, over like half hour or so, you just keep puffing clouds out there, they're going to get all jittery and they're not going to be able to shoot right because their hands are going to be jerking, right?
Yeah, I said I'm being I consider myself a fairly experienced airsofter, but I mean this is just all new territory for me. And,
Yeah. I mean, it's been hidden.
Yeah, I've always really enjoyed the tactical aspect of, you know, coming up with new strategies and tactics and ways to play and ways to approach different situations on the field and off the field, but mostly on the field. And but yeah, I just really hadn't thought of, for lack of like my, you know, a better way of phrasing it than sounding like some early 2000s, you know, punk album, like some better way to use vape as a weapon.
Right, right. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people just don't figure it into their tactical, like, you know, knowledge base is
it's not a tool in their arsenal. Yeah, it's
right. You know, as opposed to somebody who's a seasoned vapor, like this becomes kind of like a hidden weapon, and people don't realize, like, you know, the whole psychological warfare that goes into it, right? You know, they look at the vapes and they're like, oh, look, another guy with a douche flute. You know, and like I get it.
There's more to it.
Yeah, until they've been hit by those clouds for a couple hours, like right before lunch, and they just give up, man. They don't even want to play anymore. They're like, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm jittery, my nerves are on edge, and they just walk off the field. And then you can go do your objectives, and then you're done, and you get the points, and you can win the game. Like, it's not complicated. It's just, you know, you got to be patient. You can't just rush out there with your vape thinking you're going to take on the world. You got
it's an attrition war.
Yeah, you got to lay out traps, man. And it's like I said, man, it's a psychological. It's not just strictly, you know, like just it's not just strictly force on force anymore. Now you're adding a psychological layer of combat into it. It's great. Yeah.
You guys are talking this, and this is a tech show. You know, you guys are talking about the advantages of personal use, but I mean, have you guys ever integrated vapes into your Mechbox? Like that personally, I saw a huge boost to my FPS, especially if I had like the cherry Slurpee flavor loaded in. You know, like I've seen guys who have those, I forget what the like air stocks or whatever they are, where they have the little CO2 cartridge that they put in the buffer tube for their gas gun. But I had kind of the same setup for.
Sometimes I've actually heard sometimes those even last until like lunchtime. Have you guys ever heard anything like that?
Well, I've never seen that, but
I mean, I get a whole op out of my battery, but I mean, what the fuck?
I was going to say it's kind of like a battery where it depends on your usage.
Yeah, the more you use it, the less effective it is over time.
Kind of like a vape. Okay.
Yeah.
Or in a sense like a vape, but kind of not like a vape. I'm sorry, haven't I interrupted? Continue. Or what was your question? Simply, have we ever integrated them into a Mechbox?
Yeah, the Mechbox issue, I think, for the answer to Evan's question is tough because the Mechbox is more of it's a mechanical of nature, but the gas ones, you could do a lot with your gas stuff. Like the old Tanakas had those, they have like an external cartridge that takes the gas and the BBs like a magazine. But you can actually get vape juice into it first before you fill it with green gas or whatever you're going to put in there. You know, or if you're going to use the 134A refrigerant, you can use that in those too. But you got to drop in the juice first. That way, when you shoot the gun, the juice actually kind of lines the inside of your barrel and makes them slicker.
Ooh.
So that way the BBs can go a little bit further. Now it's not a lot. It's not like a ball and musket where it depends on the weave of what you're using to shoot the ball and musket. You know, I remember reading an article about like how, you know, guys used to use cotton, which was okay, and they got decent
Can we
range.
just for our clientele, being this is an airsoft show, can you explain a little bit about what an article is?
The what? So in any case, they would cut up a small chunk of their shirt and then put the ball in there so it would shoot further. Now, if you use silk, you were able to get, because it's tighter weave, right? It was able to shoot the musket ball so much further and more accurately. At least that's the theory. The vaping with a gas cartridge is kind of the same thing. You don't want to put too much in there because it'll gum everything up, and then the BBs will actually get stuck in the barrel if there's too much vape juice in there.
I was just going to ask if you're liable to have the same kinds of problems as cleaning your barrel with too much silicone oil.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, when you're done, the best thing you can do with your gun is run it through like a hose or something, and then dry it out really carefully, like a hair dryer. I mean, you don't want to get the juice stuck in there, right? Because it's very sugary sometimes, depending on which juice you're using, and you don't want to gum up the work. So when you're done, you just hose the thing out. Pull the mag out, open the bolt, whatever. Depending on how your setup is, if it's got a poppet or whatever, you may take to pop it out and clean the poppet and put it back in. But basically, the premise is you can do this and you can get away with it a few times, but you don't want to do it constantly, like all day, because eventually, by the end of the day, if you're especially in the summertime, you're running around in the heat and stuff, your gun's just going to get jammed up and be off.
Let's get back a little more to particular pairings, like wine and cheese.
Yeah.
But particular juices for particular seasons. Now, I already forgot if you touched on that much, Mike. But do you have any strong feelings at all? Do you have like a go-to?
Oh yeah,
beginning season vape.
Like wintertime, it's all about the mints, right? You want to have like a winter mint. You want to have like almost like Mentos flavored ones. They have one called Mintios. During the wintertime, it's fantastic. You get your hot chocolate, you got your mint vape, and away you go. You can rock through the winter, no problem at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the when you go through like in the fall, I prefer as cliche as it is, they do have a pumpkin latte smell, for vaping that I really like the smell of it for the fall season. Leaves start turning, you want to try and get yourself into that kind of frame of mind.
Yeah.
Spring for me personally is all about bright flavors like cherries and lemon. Anything that really kind of gets your taste buds firing up, lets you kind of get into it. Now, as far as like summertime is where you shine, because you can really vape anything you want to.
Got to get carte blanche, right?
Yeah, because it's summertime and you can kind of get away with whatever. Even if you're doing something weird, like the pina colada is one of my go-tos for summer personally. Only because the flavoring for the pina colada always reminds me of being at the beach. Now, granted, I'm in the woods and I'm shooting people, with my jacked up, P-Star gun that's shooting like 40 over the limit because nobody bothered to chrono me, and I just jack up my regs anyway. And so, but the pina colada lets me go back to that happy place on the beach, and then I get to shoot somebody, so I get the best of both worlds,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got your drum mag on your M4, you got your pina colada vape.
Exactly.
What more is there to this whole airsoft thing? I mean,
I
don't want to play a particular role on a particular team. I just want to, I'm really just there to shoot people.
Yeah, it's the quintessential. I didn't bring a radio for a reason,
Right.
I'm not talking to these guys. I don't care what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that closes that topic up pretty nice. We can get back to it if we need to. But
we could probably even market vapes based on what part of the country you're in playing. Like if you're out in California, you could have a certain type of vape. It didn't matter what camouflage it is because you're playing in California, as opposed to playing in Maine. Maine would have more of a woodsy, earthy, piney taste, and California would be more of a smog / Axe
body spray.
Yeah.
Just if TikTok brain death could be smoked,
we could go down south, market a down south one that tastes like moonshine, maybe, or it
actually
your sister's kisses.
Down south are just skull,
straight skull.
Oh, that's a good bet.
Jesus.
Yeah. So
lobster.
If that doesn't exist, anyway. So we've talked a little bit about the history of vape as it relates to airsoft. I mean, kind of sort of before you came in, Evan, but we did touch on it a bit with you. We talked about a lot of sort of present situations people could go and apply at their next airsoft game. So we've covered the proverbial past and the present. What does the future look like of the on again off again relationship of airsoft and vape? What influence? What about airsoft? Kind of any kind of airsoft games, or anything about the hobby. What do we see? How do we see vape influencing that going forward?
I think, much like everything else in airsoft, aside from speed softing, airsoft vaping is going to take its cues from what the real military is doing, and the rumor is that they had a bunch of guys at the Pentagon all get into a room, and they were drinking after the end of the day, and they were watching the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and they started saying, oh, you know what, if we had a vape that was an entire MRE in one hit, kind of like in Willy Wonka they have the complete Thanksgiving meal or whatever.
Yeah.
It tastes like everything. I think you're going to see a lot of airsofters plugging those jewels in where it's an entire 3,000 calorie MRE just compressed into a single vape.
Yeah, there's a lot of like Chinese knockoff stuff that's going around too. It's like when they first came with multicam, they had like the fake multicam, the multi-sham stuff, and I think you're running a lot of that with the vape industry as well. I try and buy brand names that I'm familiar with, that I've heard of, or someone said, hey, have you tried the new XYZ vape from so and so? And then 4 years ago it was all jewels and those little pods and stuff, and now it's all hides and variations therein of those. So I think that you just got to be careful, because like some of the Chinese knockoff ones, like the hide will be a watermelon cream, and the knockoff looks like one, but it's actually like spent rubbers. And so you've got to be really careful, because you don't know what you're going to get from the knockoff stuff. And I think that Evan brings up a good point. Like a lot of guys at vape don't ever think about that. You see a cheap vape, you just buy it, and then you bring it home and you try and huck it, and you're like, oh, this tastes like diesel, or this is literally car exhaust.
Although that's a good point though, Mike. If you are looking for that diesel flavor for
absolutely,
European impression,
right, yeah,
you could, your
Eastern
roundabout way,
yeah.
Now you know where to find it, yeah. Interesting. Well, I don't know. Is there any closing thoughts on vape or vape culture, or vape airsoft, vape soft culture? I guess
I think that honestly we should do like an annual version of this, where once a year, maybe in early April, we'll sit down, we'll go over it again.
Early April is a good point of the year, yeah. To just talk about the
rehash from the last year and say, hey, look, these are the changes that we've seen in the industry, how they've affected the player base, and just kind of work it out so the people really get a good feel for it, because I mean, I personally don't think that the vape culture is going to change, and I think that it's going to be part of airsoft for a long time. Those like those little fire things that are on the
area heaters, then you have one for
those, yeah. We'll set up the vapes on the table so people can get a good look at it. We'll get the pouches out, and we'll get all the tactical gear out. I can show you guys the vape silencer that I've got assembled. It actually, when you shoot the gun, it's like a little puff of vape out the end, and it has like certain flavors to it, certain smells, so it's kind of cool. It only works in hides right now because that's what I got it set up for, but the idea was that I could literally suppress somebody with both fire and vape.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's a work in progress. You know what I mean?
I say that leaves those stupid, 80s action movie M4s with, instead of the 203, they have the underslung sawn off 12 gauge. That leaves them.
The master keys. Master key mod.
That's
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, the master key mod for the new generation.
Right.
It's 2022 now, guys. I mean, we don't have a good G11 that some retard didn't 3D print, but I mean, we can have an AR that vapes.